Mark Henry on the On Your Mark show on 105.4 RPWP, thepulseradio.com. Every week, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. Got a special guest all the way from Kansas, Angellica Grayson. She's originally from the DF Dub, but we're going to dive into what she's doing now. This is a great story. She is a football coach up at this university in Kansas, and we're going to talk about the inaugural season at the University of St. Mary's, but we'll dig into her background just a little bit. Coach Grayson, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Mr. Mark?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you joining me on the show. Now, what I like to do with coaches is dive back into how you got there. Tell us a little bit about your journey to the University of St. Mary's.
Well, my journey is quite interesting. I've actually always wanted to play football. And so as I grew up and I got to middle school in the 7th grade, I wanted to play football. But at the time, the coaches that coach volleyball told me and said, hey, Angellica, if you play a year of football and then when you get to the 8th grade, you're going to be 1 year behind trying to play volleyball. You know, at the time, I didn't know any better. So I was just like, yeah, that makes sense. OK, so I stuck with volleyball. But we had one female that played football at the middle school level. And she was actually a cheerleader as well. So when I'm in the locker room putting on, you know, these little bitty tights and shirt or whatever, she's in there putting on football pads. And then I used to look like, dang, you know, I wish that was me. So fast forward, you know, I got to high school, played one powder puff game. I believe it was my senior year, or, you know, you might hear a lot of young ladies say, you know, I got to play powder puff in high school. And so typically it happens once a year. And so I remember getting a little taste of it and was like, you know, I think I'm pretty good. You know, didn't think nothing of it, you know, because I believe I'm an all around athlete. And so years still go down the road. And I actually graduated from Grambling State University. Yeah. Okay.
HBCU in the house. I like it.
But with Grambling, we also had like a little powder puff game that we had put together. So I got another taste of it. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm liking this thing a little bit. I graduated and I moved to Atlanta to start my career. And so when I was there, one of my friends from Grambling was living in Atlanta, and she had told me, and she said, hey, you want to go to a football game? At the time, it was the spring. And so I was thinking, who's playing in the spring? And she said, oh, there's this women's team here. And at the time, the team was called the Atlanta Explosion. Okay. And so they had blew out this team. And I remember saying to myself, I can do that. And so when it happened, later on down the road, I joined a church and they had a flag football for the ladies. And I actually played quarterback. I'm not a quarterback, but so every time they rushed, what do you think I was doing? I was running. Right. And so
dual threat.
Yes. So the guy I was dating at the time, he was like, hey, you know, you should probably, you know, go try out for the Atlanta Explosion. I didn't, you know, I was like, you know, I was like, you know, I don't want to get hurt. That's the famous line for most of us. I don't want to get hurt. Right. Somebody else brought it to my attention. It was just like, hey, you can play some tackle. You can try out. So nonetheless, there was a tryout. I tried out for the team and I made it. But before I even tried out, I ended up playing flag football with a team called the Lady Icons. And so there is when I got my first taste at linebacker. I loved it. And my coach at the time, he taught me everything he knew in regards to flag football and being a linebacker. And I just fell in love with it. So when I made the team for the Atlanta Explosion, they had me at running back. You know, I'm short in stature. You know, I have what we call a mesomorphic body. You know,
no doubt.
I told him, I was just like, hey, you know, can I do this linebacker thing? And they were like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. And so they moved me over, and 12 years later, playing linebacker. So
wow. Okay.
I've enjoyed the journey of playing football. I've coached middle school boys football team, and just for them to just not just look at me as a female I'm a coach. And so they took a liking to me and the things that I was teaching to them because they were actually successful at it. And so at that point, sometimes they're coming up to me and they're just saying, hey, coach, you know, how can I do this? Or how can I do that? Or can I do this better? And so they're asking me. So that lets me know that they're being receptive to what I'm saying. And so two coaches that I worked there, they basically let me do anything I need to do in regards to the linebackers. And I also had special teams. And so shout out to those two, Coach Evans and Coach Price, and just the district in general, because I, became the first female to coach. And so like for us females, it's like, we don't really like to hear, you're the first, you're this, you're that. We just know we do it because we love it. And we just so happen to be the first. And so they blow it up and they make it a big deal. But I'm just glad that I'm just able to speak life into these young men who sometimes hit me up from time to time now, who are now in high school. And so I've experienced them at the middle school level and just to watch them grow. And there's a couple of them on varsity now as freshmen or sophomores. And so as a coach, it makes me feel proud. It makes me feel proud. So playing with the Texas Elite, I'm also a coach as well. And so I am they call player coach. So okay. I'm in all the coaching meetings, helping making all the decisions. And at the same time, I'm turning around and I'm a player. And so I'm well respected within the team with how I approach certain situations, how I respond to certain situations. I'm not perfect. I am human. So they understand that as well. And so just to be able to coach women, just like myself, is fun. And to have coached young men as well, it was also fun. And how I look at it is I'm just coaching football. So one day when I found out that flag football was going to be at the universities, I found out way back in May. I didn't think anything of it. And I was just like, oh, this is great. Flag football at the university is awesome. Never did I think to myself, well, I need to go ahead and apply. I never thought that. So maybe like the end of May, early June, a good friend of mine hit me up and was just like, hey, did you hear about the colleges having flag? And I was like, yeah, I heard about it. He said, hey, I think you would be a great candidate. You should apply. And I was like, well, let me see, So I remember I was up almost all night researching every school that had flag football. And so just researching, just trying to see who's who, what's what, or what would work best. And honestly, I was just randomly let me see what happens. And so I saw what happens. I landed this job. And so I'm blessed to have it. They didn't put me off in the corner, with cobwebs and stuff. I'm actually up here with all the in the press box with all the other men coaches. And so they take a liking to me. I'm taking a liking to them. The conversation they have are hilarious. And so I give them a different perspective in how they think in certain aspects. And
right.
So I actually had the opportunity to work with the linebackers a little bit in the fall and just get my feet wet a little bit. I eased my way out on there. The head coach was totally fine with it. And so, who knows, I might be coaching flag and working with the football team soon. So it's definitely an awesome thing. And to be able to share my experience, to let them know, I might be the first, that's cool or whatnot, but just understand that I'm here to help grow the sport. And so that's why I'm enjoying this interview with you as well. I've recently been named a flag football ambassador. And so being a flag football ambassador, that's what I do, is spread the word, let people know that flag football exists, and not just that it exists, but it's now existing at the collegiate level. And so I went over to Africa for a week, and I just got back a few days ago, to be exact. And let me tell you, there's some athletes over there.
Most definitely. You know it. Yeah.
And I got an opportunity to coach a team from Morocco. And so I coached them. It was great. They're so grateful, so thankful. And, they speak many languages. I only speak one. And so they're able to understand what I'm saying. And so for those who didn't speak great English, I had an interpreter. So when I'm like, hey, I want you to do this, I want you to do this, da, 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 da. And then I have my interpreter. So once I say it, I'm looking at my interpreter like, did you tell them this? But it was fun, awesome opportunity, awesome experience. In the midst of all that, I got to put the University of St. Mary on the map in a whole nother country. And then I instantly became an international coach just by being there and coaching.
Wow, that is so wonderful, man. And getting a chance to be international is great. Seeing Africa sounds like an excellent opportunity. What was that like for you, seeing another country? Me, myself, I've only been to Mexico. But
Okay.
and that's another country, but people
still.
probably go to Mexico a little more. What was Africa like?
When I first stepped off that plane, it was just like, for me, it was liberating. It was like one of those, kind of like how I'm coming to America.
Coming out.
Eddie Murphy, yeah, he comes to America, and he's just like, that's how I felt when I came to Africa. I was just like, oh, the motherland. This is woo.
Exactly.
It gives me the chills just talking about it.
Right.
To go to the field, their football field, I helped with a mini football camp, and who I went with was a foundation called the Star Right Foundation. And Star is the person who has this foundation who puts together a group of women to go over there and play flag football, participate. They had their first African Flag Cup over there. And they had a mini camp. So I got to participate in all of that, and I took it all in. And like I said, they're so grateful. And I was able to give away Adidas shoes. And when I mean grateful,
they were grateful.
I do mean grateful.
Okay.
So it was great. The league that I play in for my tackle football is called the Women's National Football Conference. So it's like our NFL, but it's the WNFC. Right. And so we're sponsored by Adidas. So Adidas had given our league shoes so that way I could give away to the people of the flag football stuff that I was doing. So it's definitely good. I feel like my Instagram followers shot up because, I can't pronounce some of their names, but they find me on Instagram and they're just like, hey, coach, thank you for coming. We enjoyed you. Could you come back? And so to be loved like that. And most of all, which is interesting, what I'm about to tell you, is they kept mistaking me for being Egyptian. That was the part that was funny to me.
Wow.
They would talk to me in Arabic. And that's the common language. And so I would go there and I'll go to the store and pick up something and they start talking to me in Arabic. And then I have to say, USA, I'm American.
Right.
And they'll say, you're not Egyptian? No, I'm American. But, my ancestors are here, But.
Right. Exactly. That just shows you how deep everything goes back in life in general.
Oh, yeah.
And connecting life through sports is, kind of what what you do and what I do as well. You know what I mean? So that's got to be an amazing experience. Now we are with Coach Grayson, Angellica Grayson of the University of St. Mary's. Also professional football player, but let's put your coaching hat on first. So what would your coaching philosophy be? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, my coaching philosophy is basically helping student athletes with unwavering character and teaching them basically just life things. I believe that teaching the off the field stuff is a whole lot easier than teaching the on the field stuff. And so I focus more so on character. How do you respond when something is not going your way? And I teach them that life is 10% of what happens to you, but 90% of how you respond. And so just understand that things happen to you every day, but how you're going to respond to these things. Some things are going to happen in your favor and some things are not going to happen in your favor. And so how do you respond when you are truly not getting things that are happening your way? And so I'm teaching and preaching how to respond to certain situations and being able to bounce back. And so that's basically my philosophy is teaching and coaching unwavering character.
Well, that's definitely what you need. And that probably is more so important at the middle school level, coming up into the youth level, because middle school, in my experience, I coach 7-on-7 and things like that with middle school and bring my own children through middle school. That's that little age group that's kind of here and there. It's not high school. It's not elementary, but it's the middle way. And that's kind of also where, athletes tend to develop one way or the other at the middle school level leading into high school. So how do you develop with your coaching experience, developing a middle school player? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, for me, it starts with the mind. I talk about a lot of growth mindsets. And so with the growth mindset, you're going to have to be able to not have a fixed mindset. And so that means that when I'm telling you something, you have to be able to receive it and not just think and block it out. And that's when you stunt your growth, if you will. So if you have that growth mindset, I'm able to help you develop and start here, and then I can get your body to do anything I want it to do. But it's this that's very difficult for a middle school mind, because technically they don't develop their frontal lobe until about 25, 27. And so I don't get to see the benefits to like years down the road, but I know that they're listening. And so having to teach the young people at the middle school level how to do certain things, they're sponges, they'll do it, but I like to give them the why. Why do you have to stand in this gap? Or why should you be here if the offense or defense is doing this and that? And so I help teach that early at the middle school level. So when they do get to high school, you'll be that 1 second faster, or just by reading what the offense is running or reading what the defense is running. And so those are the things that I enjoy when they can think for themselves.
Well, most definitely. And that's the key. If you can't think, you can't move. And they kind of go hand in hand. Football is such a physical sport first, and then you have to know where you have to be based on the scheme that you're running within that team or within that, unit, because it's 11 guys out there. Flag is a little different, but it still teaches, moving and being, in a certain spot or a certain place within the team concept and scheme that you're running. So that's Correct. Very, very important. And now you mentioned student athlete first.
Yes.
You mentioned student athlete first. How important is a coach's job to make sure that your kids, the student athlete is student first and athlete second, education wise?
So how I operate, I'm that one that's going to be sitting in your class before you get there. I'm the one you're going to see in the hallways. Where I want to be present, let you know that I'm there, and I'm not, showing up just to, I gotcha. It'll only be a gotcha moment if you're actually doing something. But I'm present. I want people to see where I'm at, and see how I carry myself, walking with confidence, not looking down at the ground. And I tell them, why are you looking down? We know the ground's going to be there. Hold your head up,
Right.
So it's the little things that I look into in developing not just middle school students, but just myself, the women's team that I play with, my flag football team that I'm coaching. And so to develop their little minds it's exciting once that light bulb goes off.
Well, definitely. And talk about the importance of a coach as a mentor. A lot of times, and we're not talking about just middle school, we're talking about in general. A coach has a certain, pedestal, if you will, in a player's eye where you have their full attention, you have their full grasp. There's a mentorship there, at the professional level and at the middle school level. Give me a little bit of that.
Well, it's funny how you mentioned that. Within my program, I'm actually have started a mentor program. So with my program, what I'm doing is there is another women's professional team here called the Kansas City Glory. Okay. The Kansas City Glory, those women are going to mentor my ladies. Okay. And so I actually just right before I talked to you, I just sent out the mentee questions so they can go ahead and answer them so I can send it off to the coach of the Kansas City Glory. So I send out the questions. The head coach is going to pair them based upon how they answer their questions. That's going to fit who wants to be a mentor with her program. And so I'm allowing them another resource, another avenue to not only just talk to me. I'm not saying you can't talk to me. I'm not saying that, but I'm giving you other resources.
Okay.
If you want to talk to somebody at 2:00 in the morning, call your mentor.
Right.
If you really got to talk to me, I'm open to talk, but I'm just giving them other resources. I'm giving them a knife, a spoon, a fork, so that they can eat their meal. That's what I'm doing. Right. So not only are they being mentored, I'm teaching them how to be a leader. And so they're going to be a mentor as well as being mentored. And they're going to be a mentor to somebody's kid, whether it's YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, the youth community leagues. They're going to mentor these young ladies or these young men. And so that way we're developing a relationship within our community, because I'm big on servant leadership. So that's very big for me.
Well, that's definitely a piece of the puzzle. And I think, in my experience, it goes far beyond the field when you're a coach. At the youth level, middle school level, you may have to, give a kid a ride home, or, even at the professional level. Hey, my car's in the shop, man. Can you give me a ride? Things like that go hand in hand, and coaches and players alike. That's the way you look at it, team aspect and coming together. A lot of times teams are families because you end up spending more time with them than you do with your own family or outside interests. So that's definitely very, very important. Now let's switch gears and take your coach hat off and put your player hat on. On the defensive side, at the linebacker position, you're playing, we talked before we started, Willie. If listeners don't know what Willie, that's the weak side linebacker. There's a strong side linebacker. There's a weak side linebacker within the defense. What are some of the important things from your experience as a linebacker?
The looking at my keys, watching the guard quarterbacks and the triangle from there, the guard to guard and the running back. Looking at making sure that as a linebacker, the first thing I need to do is to go forward, not back. That's one thing that I noticed with most linebackers, including, it took me a long time to get out that habit, is when we're down in our stance, the first step we take is back. Right. And so if you were to go forward, then you could have made that sack that you were 1 second slow to. Right. So you went to the second going back. And then the next thing is recognizing the formation of the offense. And so as a linebacker, let me just say, the team is in an I formation. I typically call the strength call with my team. So we're either
strong left or strong right.
But we say Lucky or Ringo.
All right. Yeah.
Me, I'm too tired to be talking about some strong left. I need a quick Lucky, Ringo.
Yeah, right. But that all goes to back, the lingo of the formations or the scheme that you're running as well. Yes. I was a linebacker myself, so I was a strong side linebacker. I played some wheel. I played all three positions, but when I call out strong left or strong right, I was usually playing Sammy. So that's where that come from. But I got it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's definitely pretty dope. When I first got assigned, hey, you're calling a strength call, I was like I didn't like it. Because I'm thinking, what if I call the wrong strength call? That mean we messed up or they scored a touchdown. I was worrying about all the wrong things. But my thing is, if we're gonna be wrong, we're gonna be wrong together. So technically we could be right. Right. Do it all together wrong. Right. And so if we're going to be wrong, we're going to be 100% wrong. And so the coach will definitely let me know, hey, why did you call the strength call that way? And then I might tell them, well, in practice, y'all said, typically we call to the tight end, but this particular game, you told me to call it to the side that has the most receivers. And then if I give them an educated answer, then they'll be like, okay. And so just recognizing things or being able to tell my teammates, hey, it's a run, watch the gaps. Right. And so communicating with them is fun because they echo everything I say. I'll be like, lucky. Then you hear everybody, lucky. Everybody gets down. Watch the ball. Just it's a whole lot of communication.
Right. Now that takes me to my next question. How important is film study as a player? You go into a week, or you have your cheat sheet or your things that as a coach. Now, since you're a coach, you're on both sides of this thing. In the film study, you got your keys and tendencies that you may see. But as a player, you have to be on top of that as well. How important is film study?
Film is very, very important. Not just film on yourself, but film on the other team. Right. You might see that every time the guard turns their knee inside, it lets me know that they're probably about to do a pass or something. Right. Or every time the tackle does something, then it lets me know that, they're about to go this way. And so in order to know these things, you have to watch film. And I know most people use Huddle. And I remember a few years ago, one of my linebacker coaches, Coach Wilson, he used to work for Huddle. And so he could see, who's been watching film and how many hours of film. So one day he told us, he was like, I need to make sure you're watching 2 hours, by this time, Well, the thing is, I'm one of the leaders on the team, and he called me out and he was just like, hey, you only have about 30 minutes of film. I was like, what? I'm not much of a combat person. I will combat, But I was like, what? 30 minutes? What, coach? I promise you I have been. And then so one day he came over and he was like, well, let me see how you're watching film. I said, okay. So, and I showed him how I watch film. And with the problem we found out was I like to slow-mo everything. So watching in slow-mo, it was not calculating my time. And because he sat there with me probably for about an hour and a half. And then he looked back into the huddle and it showed that we probably watched like 15 minutes of film. And I was like, told you, coach, I told you. Like, because I like to watch I like to watch in full motion, slow motion for almost each position. And just so I can get a general idea about that one play.
Wow. That's crazy. I did not know that about huddle. That's a good tidbit. Pick up on that, kids, players listening. Hey, if you're watching in slow motion, that cuts your time short in half. So that's a good tidbit to know. I'll take that and make sure I put that in the memory bank. Now, as a player, what are some of the things that you work on to keep yourself in shape, footwork wise, and how important is your conditioning?
Oh, conditioning is very important. So sometimes I work out with my athletes, not all the time. Sometimes I have to be like, let me show you how it's done. But
right.
I'm getting older where I won't be able to do that as much anymore. So I do a lot of cone drills as far as my quick muscles. Some people might say, "Oh, coach, you're fast." No, I'm not fast. I'm quick. Right. I can get you the first 10 or 15 yards. After that, you might get me, But I do a lot of cone drills, change of directions, keep up with my cardio. I'll go from drill to drill in regards to making sure my cardio is up. Working with my team on the weekends, we do a whole lot of different stuff. And so just so people can understand, I have a fitness test that I have to pass. Not just me, but my whole entire team.
Yes.
So what's required in this fitness test is we have to do 20 40-yard sprints. Between each sprint, we rest about, I think, 25 seconds. So after we do those 20 sprints, then we go into what we call the elite power hour. So the elite 100. So basically, I have to do 10 burpees, 10 squats in this order, and 10 mountain climbers. So that's one set. I got to do that 10 times. And then turn around and do another 20 40-yard sprints. If you're out of shape, you're going to know. So we're not allowed to participate in practice until we pass that test. So It's best to pass the first time. Well,
that brings me back to memories freshman in college, man. We had a coming from high school to college and being in professional, that sounds kind of on the similarities. You don't know about that until you get there, that fitness test. And then you don't practice. You steady running and doing everything else until you pass that test and you don't get to feel. That's what it is. And that's the reason you have to be in shape and you have to do what you're supposed to do. And that, that's how it is at the professional level. Again, this is Angellica Grayson on the On Your Mark Show on 105.4. RPWP, thepulseradio.com. Now, Coach, let's dig into the University of St. Mary's. Tell us where it's located, what division level that you guys are, and how the program is taking shape.
Okay, well, the University of St. Mary's is located in Leavenworth, Kansas. We are literally, I would say, northeast in Kansas. We sit right there. Literally, you look across a bridge or you cross the bridge, you're in Missouri. Hop back over that bridge, you're in Kansas. And so we're right there on the state line pretty much. And so with university, in Leavenworth, about 36,000 people. It's a small little town. Everybody supports everybody, I guess you could say. Since I've noticed that since I've been here. My neighbor, very, very, very nice. It's a military town because we also have a Fort Leavenworth. So I see a lot of military quite often. And at the university, it's their first year having flag football. And they are wanting to make it, shoot and rise like every other sport. We have 22 sports on campus. And so, believe it or not, we have esports. So if you are a bomb gamer, you can get a scholarship for playing video games.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That sport has taken off.
Yes. Like a whole lot. So, so here it's a beautiful town. We're small and we have about 70 to 75% of our school are student athletes. The rest of them are just students, which is not a bad thing, but we typically at NAIA schools, which we are, which is National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. So it goes D1, D2, D3, and then you have NAIA and then JUCO. And so we're right above the JUCO and we're right under the D3. So we don't offer full scholarships, but we do offer partial scholarships. And the beauty about my campus is we can stack scholarships. Some other schools, they're either going to give you an academic scholarship or they're going to give you an athletic scholarship. With my campus, we can do both. And so just off your GPA alone, if you're coming in with a 4.0 off top, you're automatically get about $16,000 and $17,000 for 4 years. And so that's that. And then you've got flag football. And if you're into the band, theater arts, choir, art, because we're a liberal arts school as well, then you can also get a scholarship for that. Like it's pretty cool that we can stack the scholarships. And so we offer many majors from sport management. We're known a lot for nursing. We've got business management. This is undergrad that I'm talking about.
Right.
Just quite a few things that if you're interested, you can definitely do that. Some of my athletes are majoring in nursing. Some of them are majoring in criminology. A lot of them are majoring in business as well. And so I have some dual athletes. Some of them are basketball. Some of them are straight flag. I got a couple that are track and one volleyball player. And so who am I to take away the opportunity for them to play flag football? But if you're an athlete and you're coachable, it's a go. It's a definite go. And so what's unusual or challenging about my situation is I'm in the Midwest and it's hard to find somebody who has already played flag football at the high school level. So in the Midwest, there are no schools at the high school level where they actually play flag football competitively. So I'm always having to fly to Vegas because they have high school flag.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Or I got to fly to Florida because, the Florida, they've been doing it quite some time and they have.
Did not know that.
So let me tell you the information. They have everybody in Florida, almost every high school almost has high school flag. So they've been around, I want to say 2012, maybe 2010 and 2012, as far as having it sanctioned. And wow. Georgia recently added flag football as a sanctioned sport. So they just had their first championship game a few weeks ago, actually in December.
Okay.
Alaska, believe it or not,
no,
is another one.
Really?
So you've got you got Alaska, Florida, Nevada, and Georgia. And I believe they're working on Alabama right now. And since I came from Crowley, so, I talked to the athletic director and I also talked to the Fort Worth athletic director so what I do as far as the flag football ambassador part of me is I'm sitting down and I'm having meetings with them to telling them why they should have flag football. Because it would be difficult to say you should have flag football, but after high school, there's nowhere to go. But now that there is somewhere to go, it's kind of hard to deny. You know what? It's hard to deny that you have flag football for these young ladies at the collegiate level. And so now that they know it's spreading the word, getting it out there. And for Texas to be a mecca for football, we have got to get flag at the high school level.
Well, definitely. That was my next question, but you answered it. Where's your, the parts of the country or so far where you're recruiting, would you look for players from? But let's say that you mentioned track, or you mentioned other sports. You're moving around and you played other sports as well. When you're at another function and you see a girl that possibly could have that skill set for the flag football, does that make them recruitable, or what are you looking for as in a recruit to come to the University of St. Mary's?
For example, when I went to Atlanta to go check out some games, quarterfinals, I went to check out their games. And so I talked to the ladies after the game, and the ones that were interested, they'll come up to you. And so there will be a small group and they'll say, hey, what can I do? What do I need to do? And basically I tell them, if you're coachable and you have a growth mindset, you can play for me. And I'm not that coach that says, well, you're not good enough. Why am I coaching? I mean, I should be making you good enough, but you do want to put a good brand, a good something on the field. And so what I'm looking for in them is not just your GPA. How do you treat your teammates? I'm going to talk to your high school coach. I'm going to know all about you before I put you with the program over here. And I got to make sure that you fit. Now, you might get accepted to the campus, but are you really fitting with the program? And so a lot of these young ladies, even the men, they're going to go to the highest bidder. And I get that in regards to scholarship money. But if there's a school on your list that's not giving you like maybe $1,000, they're giving you $1,000 less than another school, and you're going to go to the other school because of that $1,000, you might not even like that school because you're just going because it's the highest bidder. And so I make sure to tell recruits, when you're looking for a campus, make sure you know the coaching philosophy. And then they'll look at me, the philosophy, and like, yes, every coach needs to have a philosophy. They can't tell you that it might not be for you. And I tell them, make sure that the coach fits you in whatever your philosophy is, because as a player, you need to have a philosophy as to what type of coach you're looking for. And so I tell them, make sure you have expectations just as the coach has expectations of you. And so it goes hand in hand with both parties, if you will. And so if you can do all those things, you're coachable, I can work with you, you're athletic, and you're good on top of that, we're about to have a bomb season,
Well, that sounds like a great pitch. You got me excited, ready to do something, ready to get ready. That's what it's all about. And again, Coach Grayson, we appreciate you joining us here. Now, before we get out of here, what conference do you guys play in, and about how many games do you look forward to having too?
So we're in the KCAC, that's Kansas Collegiate Athletic Conference. And so there are about 13 to 15 schools participating. And so there are 5 in the Midwest, and there's several schools on the East. There's 5 schools in Florida. So it's hard to get somebody from Florida when you've got 5 schools in Florida already. Okay. So having to gather, ask me your question one more time.
What conference and how many games do you guys play?
We have about 6. We can only play about 16 max games and minimum of 10. And so we're not just traveling to play one game. We're all traveling to play at least 2. So, for example, we host our first game on April 8th. And so we'll have 2 universities coming to our games. So I'll play Midland, and then I'll turn around and play another school. And so those other 2 schools will also play each other. So there's going to be a few games that's going. And so how flag football works, you can do that. It doesn't make sense to travel 3 hours for one game, because flag football can kind of go kind of fast. And so it's best that we do 2 games per whatever days that we play. And so most of our games will be on Thursdays. We have some tournament games. Our postseason game will be in Canton, Ohio. And so that's going to be pretty cool, because we'll actually get to see the Florida schools as well.
Well, that sounds like a great way to give young ladies a chance to compete, first of all, and secondly, get that college education, because that's what it's all about. And you brought it at the beginning, student athlete. Now, if a young lady was wanting to reach out to you, give us your information, emails, where we can share that as well.
Yes, well, my name is Angellica Grayson. I like to tell people twice the angel, because I have 2 L's in my first name. So if you say I emailed you and they're like, well, was it 1 L or 2? Then if it was 1, you should have got something back that didn't work. But it's my first name dot last name at stmary.edu, and it's stmary.edu. You can contact me on my social media or Twitter page is Coach Grayson 52. My personal Instagram page, Jelly52. That's my street name, by the way. And Jelly spelled different. It's GELLIE 52. And you can also contact me on the school Instagram page, which is USM Flag, or Facebook, University of St. Mary. You can contact me on my personal Facebook page, is just Angellica Grayson. So there are many ways you can contact me. Don't let it be an excuse as to why you can't contact me, because honestly, you can just type in University of St. Mary, flag football, my picture will pop up. I like, before I end, I like to tell my recruits, I'm not just anybody. I tell them I'm not just an ordinary Joe. And so I let them know that, so they know that who they're dealing with, because a lot of these young ladies honestly have never been coached by a female, because they normally get coached by men in the flag football world. And so not only have they never been coached by a female, they've never been coached by a Black female. And so that's what makes this story just that much better.
No doubt. And that's what we're about here at the On Your Mark show. We want to promote things like that. And radiothepost.com is a Black-owned internet radio station. So we definitely appreciate you joining us all the time, all the time. Now, but my last question before we get out of here, what's your message to other young ladies, because they don't think that they can play football. They don't think that they can coach football. But you're doing it. You're setting the standard here. Give me a little bit of that before you get out of here, how you want to tell these ladies that they can continue to do this, and don't listen to what others say. Do what you feel, do what you do. Give it to me.
It's been years since I could figure out that a lot of times we like to prove people wrong, just, because it feels good. I'm going to prove them wrong that I can do this. It clicked one day with me a few years back that I'm not going to do it because it's proving people wrong. I'm doing it because I've been proving to myself that I've been right this whole entire time. So once you prove to yourself that you're right, then you can do anything else. Everything else will fall in place. So don't worry about everybody else or what society says. But if you, there's two things that I tell people. There's two things you're going to do in life with fear. It's false evidence appearing real. And with those two things, you're either going to face everything and run, or you're going to face everything and rise. And so I tell them, make sure you pick the better choice of the two. And I'm pretty sure you're going to face everything and rise and not run.
Well, definitely, we're going to rise and run. And I appreciate you joining us here on the On Your Mark show. University of St. Mary's, Coach Grayson. Definitely. When you come back, man, we're going to keep in touch. I definitely got to get out to one of those games professionally out here. Yes, most definitely. Please.
Our championship game will be at the Apogee Stadium in Denton, Texas, where UNC plays.
Okay.
So that's way in August, though. But
I'll be around. Hit
me up. I'm excited. I'm also a Hall of Famer in the women's world of football. So I'm excited about the accolades, but besides that, I want somebody else to have the accolades and to be able to enjoy what I'm doing now. So when I do get of age and I get up there, I can look back and say, I was a part of that right there. I was a part of that movement. So, and because I know in the next few years, flag football is really about to grow at the collegiate level.
Well, definitely appreciate you joining me here on the On Your Mark show. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back on the next segment here on 105.4 RPWP, thepulseradio.com.